Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another Alkebulan Awakening series in collaboration with Kumbukeni. My name, as always, is Alaji. I'm the co-founder of the Emerging Alkebulan. And as you all know, what we do on this platform is to awaken our consciousness and decolonize our minds, guys. It's time to wake up. I'm looking forward to today's conversation. I'll let Nduku introduce herself. Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another Alkebulan Awakening series in... Don't worry, it's my phone.
Because I'm getting ready to get the Twitter up, and I was like, I hope that's not me.
Yeah, that was a YouTube channel. Sorry.
The name is Nduku, as you see on the screen there. I am the host on Kumbukeni, joining my brother always to counter the false narrative that Western media has propagated against us Africans for too long, and also to reclaim our narrative and tell it ourselves. So we can complain about them being biased, we can complain about them whitewashing, but if we don't take action and tell it ourselves, then it's just complaining with nothing to move forward with. So I am truly looking forward to this conversation, especially because we spoke about women's role last week, and this, I think, is tied in. So I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Nduku. I'm just going to let my sister introduce herself. But as you can see on our screen here, we got our sister, Heraldess Adama Alaji. My sister, if you can introduce yourself to a global audience, and then once you've done that, just please go straight to the topic. Before you do that, guys, as always, if you have any questions, as you listen to our sister, I'm sure a lot of things are going to resonate with you. Okay, she's going to be throwing some bombs out there, some things that are going to hit you. Please share your questions in the chat. Once we're done with the podcast, towards the presentation, we'll ask questions. So, my sister, I'll leave the floor to you. Welcome to our podcast.
Thank you so much. Before I start, ever present, cosmic supreme being, oh, absolute reality, you are all there is. Oh, absolute and supreme intelligence, oh creator that is everywhere. You are the mother, father of us all, wherever we are. We're so grateful to be the ones that we are in this dispensation, that we have the opportunity to do what other ones did not know to do. We give thanks for being reminded that we are already dwelling in the realm of eternity, and it is not something that's coming. It is the factuality and the actuality of where we are on this biospheric intergalactic spaceship called Earth, with these perfectly and divinely designed spacesuits called bodies. We thank you for the clearing, the cleansing, the purification, the renewal, the rebirth of who we each are as intelligences of existence, knowing that we have come from another realm of eternity into this realm of eternity through the sacred fluid of our mother's womb, sparked by the sacred fluid of our fathers. And we forgive those who gave us no support in respecting the sacredness, the sanctity, and the divinity of life, the divinity and the sacredness of our own lives, the divinity and the sanctity of all life. And we are here to realign ourselves with thy will, thy way, thy love, thy light, thy peace, thy poise, thy power, thy potency. And I give thanks that I am disciple of thy truth, bearer of thy light, woman of God, standing on behalf of all orders of existence and the right of all beings, all races, all nations to have the right to live their lives in the exaltation of the intelligence that we each are. So you are beneficent. You are so beloved that you have given each of us so much of yourself. And all you care to have us do is to love you with our whole body, heart, mind, with all of our mights, to honor the lineages through whom we've come, to love our neighbors, and we're all neighbors as we love ourselves, and to really come to a point to know that as our absolute parent reality, we were told to ask, We were told to knock. We were told to seek. We were told to pray and fast, and the desires of our heart will be granted unto us. And we give thanks now that we are returned to what we have always heard in our responsibility to exalt a full effort in our living to the glory of the lineages through whom we've come. For this is our now moment to rise. It is our now moment to shine. It is our now moment to reclaim the divinity, the sanctity, and the sacredness of who we are on behalf of all of those ones who we have benefited from their realizations, their revelations, their epiphanies, their intellectual properties, all of that which we have access to, so that we have a greater direct connect to the greatness of who we are as these living, loving, intelligent, potent, and immortal points of view. I thank you that I am voice on behalf of our liberation, voice on behalf of our resurrection. I am the one to remind us that we are already in eternity and we should not be dying, that we have come into this realm not as dead people, and we should not be leaving this realm as dead people. We love you with our whole body, heart, mind, life, and soul, and give thanks that we're always encouraged by our angels, our guides, our ancients, our ancestors, to love you ever more for the grace and the protection that we need as these ones begin to reap the harvest of the seeds that they have sown in sickness, illness, disease, oppression, suppression, degradation, violation, and whatnot, knowing that the law is in full effect, that those ones and all ones will reap a harvest that is consistent with the nature that they have sown. We give thanks for our clearing, our cleansing, our purification. We give thanks for the redemption. We give thanks for the repentance. We give thanks for the restoration. We give thanks for our renewal. We give thanks for our liberation and our resurrection. On behalf of the whole of existence and all of our ancestry, all of our ancients, all orders of being, and all creatures upon the planet that have been killed and violated, and all of those ones whose blood is crying out from the earth, we give thanks that this now moment is ours for the taking.
I
Ashe.
share.
Amen.
I share.
And so I am voice on behalf of our liberation, our salvation. And I am really exalting that liberation is not really the conversation that we're hearing. We have a conversation about so many things, in terms of just the progression of somebody's world conquering rampage that has morphed into a global initiative of depopulation and zero population and genocide, as is evidenced in the escalation of all manners of sickness, illness, and disease within all people. Heart disease being the number one killer of all people. I am the one to remind us that we're perfectly and divinely designed. We're water based beings. The earth is 80% water, so 80% of our body should be 80% water. Now, having been fed the flesh of dead animals, the aborted fetuses of chickens, the pus and mucus of cows, all manners of artificially colored, artificially flavored NutraSweet, aspartame, and all of the behavior modifying chemicals and the pesticides, the herbicides, the antibiotics, and all of this. Our tissues are filled with this that are held in all of the flour products. When I was a child, flour and water make paste. We would do it for art. So we're talking pancakes, waffles, breads, biscuits, donuts, and all of the croissants, pastries, pretzels, pastas. All of this is really holding and binding these chemicals, and our blood, which is the carrier of our spirit, is being corrupted and polluted, which is the real foundation of our oppression all over the world, is having a polluted bloodstream, having the spirit that we each are, that is like vapor, literally living in sewage that creates the degradation of all of our organs and glands, that creates the acidity, that creates all of the need for knee replacement surgeries, hip replacement surgeries, cancers, and all of this. And so, in order for us to really have the right response to being under a global initiative of depopulation and genocide, where the methodology has been to oppress us with what we have come to love that is called food, we are making now a distinction between that which is food, that which has been set to feed our appetites, and that which is fuel, which is necessary to create the oxygenation, the hydration, the mineralization, the alkalization, the facilitation of the elimination of poisons and all of that from the body, so that we are facilitating optimum cellular functioning, healing, renewal, rebirth, and consciousness expansion. As water-based beings, That means that had we never had any of the meat, dairy, eggs, chicken, fish, flesh, flour, sugar, alcohol, tobacco, any of those things, we would have been just fine. On just fresh fruit, leafy greens, vegetation, things that have seed and grow above ground. At this particular point, because of the accumulation, the concentration, the saturation, and the contraindication of all of these things, then the methodology of our liberation has to happen at the cellular level, because the methodology of our oppression has been to oppress our cellular functioning with garbage. You hear people say garbage in, garbage out. No, garbage in, garbage is not getting out, which is why we have so much obesity, which is why we have so much going on, so that we are really in a place where we don't have to participate with it. When we've been diagnosed with anything, basically you first start with cleansing, liberating the cells from all of this sludge. And the body is so intelligent. The body is so perfectly and divinely designed, but we're under a system that does not acknowledge perfection. And I'm saying, no, we are perfectly and divinely designed, and the body is designed to cleanse itself, just like the earth is designed to regenerate and cleanse herself through the rotation, through this cosmic frequency that we call our galaxy, our universe. And so the cleansing is going to happen whether we are aware of how to facilitate it or not. So from the day we came out of our mother's womb, somebody bathed us until we could bathe ourselves. From the time that we had teeth, they taught us how to brush our teeth and clean and have good oral hygiene. And then they taught us to bathe. And so most people will bathe every day outside the body, between the legs, crack our buttocks. We bathe every day and sometimes 2 to 3 times a day based on our activities. But very few people are understanding the need to bathe internally daily. And so all of what we see in terms of the dirt, the ring that we leave around the bathtub and stuff, no matter how many times, is the evidence that the body is cleansing every day, all day. So just doing a 14-day herbal cleanse or a 30-day fast or a 40-day fast when you have been eating meat, dairy, eggs, chicken, fish, flesh, flour, alcohol, tobacco, sugar, and whatnot for decades is insufficient, which is why I've seen so many vegan vegetarians pass away from prostate cancer, uterine cancer, cervical cancer, ovarian cancer, and all of this. I am centered in Atlanta, Georgia, under the banner of Integrity Global Enterprises, doing business as Mother Earth's Blessing Holistic Life Center. I've been on radio really speaking to the issues of our liberation, our salvation, our deliverance, the prerequisites for our being qualified for continuance in existence for 25 years on WRFG.org. I have been providing what I refer to as inspirational lifestyle change consulting, so that I can assist people in remembering that we each are these points of an absolute and supreme intelligence, and that is the identity that was stolen some time ago. You understand? It's not just our Africanity. It is the fact that we have come into this realm from another realm of eternity. We're immersed in nothing but eternity. And then we have no conscious realization of our immortality, or the immortality of the cells, the right of the body, or our coming to a point where we reclaim our rights to walk the path of light while we are on the earth. We do not have to be in the ditches and valleys of degradation. We do not have to be dwelling in the valley of the shadow of death, in the shadow of the valley of death. We should be in a place and space where we realize, when we look up and we see the blue of the sky, and we see the clouds, and we see the wind, and we feel the rain, and we feel the ooze, and all of that, that we are always in the presence of our creator, which is beginningless, endless, infinite, and we are the personification of this intelligence. And that we, as the wombed man, are here to be the perpetuators, and men without the womb are the progenitor of lineages. Now, very few cultures have given us a real understanding as to what purpose in being on the planet actually is. And I'm saying being on the planet is for the purpose of self realization, self actualization, harmonization with the laws of life, self mastery, so that we are able to graduate the class of earth residency, with flying colors and emerge into the exalted spirit worlds as embryonic gods and goddesses, having learned how to use the laws of existence. But these people, they realize that our ancients, our ancestors and whatnot, they were able to think a thing and have it be. You understand? To set an intention and it comes into manifestation. You understand? People want to call it hoodoo, voodoo, Santeria, whatever. But I'm just saying is that no, everybody has the capacity for creation. The issue is that the cleaner the blood, the greater the clarity. But if we have the violation of violated beings charged upon our blood, when the primary law of existence is thou shalt not kill, then we should not be eating the flesh of that which has been killed. We have not been taught and educated and religiously trained and spiritually supported in understanding that the water is very powerful, it's intelligent. And we're made with trillions and trillions of atoms and molecules and cells. And the intelligence is all of what we are in. So we are literally in flotation in nothing but cosmic consciousness. And we are immersed in nothing but intelligence. And the trees are the evidence of it, and the flowers and all of the insects. The Creator has not created anything other than that which truly exalts the phenomenalness of its diversity. And everything is here to serve and exalt life and perpetuate life. And so, as men and womb men, we are the perpetuators of our lineages. And we are here to ensure the continuation of our lineages, the progression of our lineages, the exaltation of the divinity and the sanctity and the sacredness and the gifts, talents, skills of our lineages, to give our gifts to this realm. And to be under a global initiative that is depopulation, zero population, and genocide is completely unacceptable. Because their intention is to phase our lineages out of existence. And there is no one anywhere within the exalted spirit worlds that commissioned them to do this work. They are not licensed by the intelligence of existence or the laws of existence to feel that it is their responsibility to depopulate the planet, because they're under the lie that we are overpopulated. We are not overpopulated. The earth can hold us and many, many more. And so our responsibility in this now moment as women is to come to a point where we realize we never had to be licensed, certified, and degreed to be women. We had to be licensed, certified, and degreed to be nutritionists, to be nurses, to be doctors, to be surgeons, to be lawyers, to participate as the profiteers behind the oppression, the suppression, the depression, and the degradation of the people. We get paid for that. We're psychiatrists, we're psychologists, you understand? But we are completely inept and ineffective in creating anything that looks like health or wellness or cure or liberation at all, because they were completely contaminated with the flesh of dead animals, the aborted fetuses of chickens, the pus and mucus of cows. So in a system where you can be poisoned all of your freaking life with all of this garbage and then become president of the United States, get all your PhD degrees, you understand, and then never know how to eat. It's a problem. But that is what we're faced with. And I'm saying at this particular point in juncture, after 47 years of strict vegetarianism, 20 years of no potatoes, rice, beans, all of that, I can tell you that the cleaner the blood, the greater the clarity, because we always heard, even though I left the church at 11, I come from a line of ministers, I left the church at 11 because nobody could talk to me about why people are dying. And as a 6-year-old, Mommy, why are the people dying if the people are the children of God and God don't die? And so this has been part of what has allowed me to become the woman that I am, to remind us that death is a program that's running here, and we can deprogram from it. Being fed like kids and not nourished like children. The whole intention of the oppression is to have us divided within ourselves. So as individuations, we are individuals of this absolute and supreme intelligence, male and female, both are we. But if we're divided within ourselves, where we feel like we can do anything, right, that is detrimental to ourselves, when the first law of existence says self-preservation is the first law. So it is completely unnatural for us to have think that we have been given a free will to undermine ourselves. It is definitely a part of the program of behavior modification that is the effect of the multiplicity and plethora of chemicals that are in our system to put us in a place where we feel like we can be completely detrimental to ourselves and then be married. And this is why we are not happily married, because you can't bring two people who are divided within themselves and have not taken responsibility to commit to the marriage to life. Life is a gift. Everybody has it. Everybody has breath. Everybody has heartbeat. I mean, there is no greater wealth. There is not a freaking thing that we can earn, beg, borrow, steal, be awarded or rewarded that is greater than who and what we already are, but naked. But we've been taught not to value ourselves. We've been taught to treat our bodies like freaking garbage cans. We've been taught to drink and smoke and get high and think that that's fun and that's maturity. No, that's adulteration, and that's the path of death. Now, the finality of death, what does death mean? Does it mean that you can get out and then go into some exalted realms and sit at the right hand of God, the Father Almighty, the maker of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the Virgin Mary, suffered under the Pontius Pilate, was crucified, dead, and buried, and the third day he arose from the dead, and we're going to have all of that glory when we were completely out of order the entire time. No obedience, no commitment, no light, no love, no wisdom, no truth. We just smoked ourselves to death, drank ourselves to death, screw ourselves to death, just mentally masturbated ourselves to the death by just consuming all of this garbage that seems to be the intellectualization of what liberation is, and nobody is really dealing with the reality of how perfectly and divinely designed we are, and that what we have learned to eat is oppressive. And then the weapons of mass destruction are the tobacco, the alcohol, the sugar. We were enslaved by the sugar industry. Still, I don't know who the slaves are, the Dominicans, or I don't know. Where are the slaves now? But the issue is that to be in a place where we feel as though there is no point to living except to acquire paper currency. It's all about the money. It's all about the conquest. It's all about the sex. It's all about the fame and the fortune. We don't have any real regard as to the divinity, the sanctity, the duty, obligation, and responsibility we have to that which is beating our hearts and breathing us. And so, in order for us to come to a point and place where we can do something about all of this, it requires a personal commitment. It requires our intensity of intention and a wholehearted desire to be whole, to be clear, to be cleansed, to be purified, to come to a point where we have literally liberated ourselves from all of this garbage through a daily intentional cleansing, flushing, right? Releasing, eliminating, hydrating, oxygenating, mineralizing, alkalizing, and then to deal with the reality that we want to resubstantiate the body to be 80% highly charged mineralized water, reminding you now that water is a medium of intelligence. Water holds frequency, water holds vibration, water holds memory, water is programmable. And when we were told, fast and pray, and the desires of your heart will be granted unto you. The fasting is giving up all of that which is not water and hydrating. And the diet, or what we call that which is fueling for our bodies, are going to be our herbal teas, it's going to be our fresh fruit, our leafy greens, and the vegetation that grows above ground and that which has seed. And many people will say, well, sister, I live in a place where it's very difficult to find good fruit that has seed. I say, well, the thing you have to realize is that these people cannot create from anything other than the intelligence that was already there. They can modify it, they can manipulate it, but they cannot really take the intelligence out of it. Intelligence is all there is. It's the invisibility of what we're living in, but we are speaking to it. You understand? It's say, ask and it shall be given. Ask and it shall be given. It's like we have the power. It says, in the beginning there was the Word was God, and the Word was with God. We have to learn how to use our word. We have to learn how to command. We have to realize that as intelligences of existence, we have the right to put our intention on a thing. So you sit at your fruit and you call it, I return you and restore you to your original blueprint. I restore you to your original blueprint. I acknowledge the intelligence that is here, and I thank you for the intelligence that will harmonize with the intelligence that I am. These people know who we are, they know who we've come from, and that's why they had to sow us in divisiveness within ourselves, so that it's harder than hell to be happily married, to have our children come to a point where they see happily married people who are not poisoning each other, loving each other to death. Instead of loving each other to life, instead of rejoicing in the blessedness of being, in terms of the strength and the power of what it is to have families and legacy and dynasty and whatnot. No, they didn't want us to do that. I'm just saying at this particular point in time, we are at the precedent of the beginning of the rest of our lives, as the emergence, as the evidence of the emergence of the queendoms and kingdoms of God upon this planet. That's the end game. Nobody is going to think a greater thought than our being completely restored in the light and the truth of the divinity, the sanctity, the sacredness, and the absolute intelligence that we each are, our ingenuity. You understand? This is our wealth. So you're dealing with a people who figured out a way to robbed the pharaoh's tombs, and then they went on all their archaeological and anthropological journeys across the planet and find the artifacts of all of these people that are no longer present. And then some of them, they couldn't even find grave sites or bodies for them. You understand? So I'm just saying, but then they figured out a way to rob the temples of the living gods and goddesses of our wealth, our riches, our gems, our gold, our iron ore, all of our diamonds and all of that. That is our ingenuity, our creativity, our faith, our confidence, our alignment in the reality of who we are as these living, loving, intelligent, potent, and immortal points of the presence of this absolute and supreme intelligence. So yes, liberation requires our care. You'll never do something you don't care to do. And it requires the consistency, the diligence, the coming to a point and place where we're no nonsense, no compromise, and no foolishness about who we are, where we are, because we are plentiful around the planet. We can do whatever we will. We've already seen that they called a global shutdown. Now it's time for us to call a global shutdown. We won't work. We're not going to be feeding ourselves poison. We're going to boycott the death industries. No more meat, dairy, eggs, chicken, fish, flesh, flour, sugar, and all of that. And to know that we are so intelligent that we do not have to have any of it. It's completely non-necessity. It's a waste of money. And so, yes, the body will cleanse and it will release its waste. The issues are that we have to use the clay. Mother Earth is absolutely phenomenal, and indigenous and native peoples have always dealt with clay. So we drink the clay and we do the enemas with the clay, and we do the douching with the clay. So the clay has the minerals and it will break up the solidification of the tumors that's held in that indigestible protein from the cheese and the eggs and all of that. And we're flushing this stuff through our bodies. We're having the opportunity to regain our footing upon the path of everlasting life. We're having the opportunity to walk the face of this earth as what they have never seen, because they think we've been cast out. They don't have any respect for us. They don't even look for it. And it's not by virtue of militarism, and it's not by virtue of the racism, because see, all of these are all divisive. You understand? It's all divisive. So it's not just about Pan-Africanism. This is an intelligence issue, because the war is against Mother Earth, the war is against Mother Nature, the war is against all of her creatures. You understand? In the speciesism that the religions have supported, in man having been given dominion, and we had dominion over these creatures, and we captured them and we beat them, and we take their tusk and we take their pelts, and they take, you understand? So I'm just saying, all of life has the right for its liberation. And this is a global issue. And those of us who are of African heritage, origin, background, or concern, indigenous, aboriginal, however melanated we are, the issue is that we must rise. We have to. The world, even though they don't know it, is dependent upon us. And the sisterhood, the exaltation of the divine feminine, because the bane of existence was the degradation, the rape, and the violation, the abuse of womanhood. because women set the consciousness of the women lay foundation for the perpetuation of the generations. Now, if both man and womb man are full of toxins, then the children that we bring forward, yes, we've survived our parents, give thanks. But we're having issues now because I deal with so many young women they're not healthy enough to bring babies to full term. And they weren't mentally strong enough, faithful enough to think that they could have their babies and bring their babies singly. So our abortion rate is high. We have so many ones who are being now shot up with all kinds of poison so that the children are having lifelong debilitating issues that require them to be taken care of till their 40s and 50s. You understand? So I'm just saying this is the evidence of the genocide, but we can do something about this. And as clear as we can see it, that we are communicating, that we are sharing this messaging to all of our families, that we are taking responsibility to realize the economy of death that is being perpetuated through the cigarettes, the tobacco, the cigars, the Black and Milds, the marijuana, the vaping things, right? It should be illegal to set up businesses that have nothing but that which is detrimental to the cellular functioning of anybody, but particularly children. We have the right to reclaim our right to ensure our progression. But we have to know the law, and we have to repent from our violations of the law in terms of having violation charged upon our own blood because we was eating the chicken and we was eating the fish and we was eating the beef and we was eating the pork and all of these residues. We're having to come to a point and place where we realize that this is the methodology of our oppression. But we can stop when we think, and we may not even be able to really get a proper understanding as to the trillions of dollars that we spend on meat, dairy, eggs, chicken, fish, flesh, alcohol, tobacco, white sugar, sugar treats, and all of this stuff that is responsible for the millions and trillions of dollars that are having to be spent in operations, butchery, surgeries, pharmacology, and all of these things. So to be in a system, a global system that is a death culture, we have to come to a point where we don't participate, or to realize, one, you'll never have anything greater than your life. There's nothing that anybody can give you that is greater than you. You are here to be a gift. You are here to represent your lineages. You are here to understand how to be. It is in the being, the resubstantiation of the being, the resubstantiation of the being that literally gives us the opportunity to come to light, to come to power, to come to reign as the children of God. This is our time.
Thank you, my sister. Thank you. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Where do I start? I've written so many notes here. I don't even know where to start now. Let's just break it down a little bit, because you're talking about, and I've watched quite a few videos, and your focus basically the food we eat.
As the methodology of our oppression, yes.
Yeah, yes, that's food. And like you said, basically the intoxication, the chemicals in our food is basically one of the biggest problems we face in our world today. And as a Nigerian, because I've recently been to Nigeria, come back as well, and I always refer to back home as well, the systems are being contaminated as well in Africa as well. So basically the death economy is being transferred back to Africa. A lot of people don't see that, like you said, they're using all these divisions, all these methodologies to basically get us one way or the other. So how do we cleanse up? But how do we let people know that, because I'm a meat eater, and the same way you say now, I'm trying to get away from it. Because I see it's dead meat, and I can actually see, because what you're saying makes a lot of sense. So how do we cleanse ourselves from the indoctrination? Because the system basically tells us otherwise, even though you tell us completely contradictory to what the system is telling us. How do we get ourselves away?
When I was in college, University of Florida, mid-70s, Blacks didn't start going to the University of Florida until 1972. I was admitted in the class of 1975. right? So by the time I'm in my sociology, my minor course is my junior year, and they're telling me all the statistics of 20,000 Black Americans are dying from sugar diabetes, another 15,000 are dying from complications from obesity, another 12,000 dying from cancer of the lung, another 8,000 from cancer of the pancreas, another 6,000 from this, that, and the other. Then by the time you factored in, they factor in, I was a psych major, they factor in our single-headed households, our teenage pregnancies, our abortion rate, our quote unquote illegitimate children, our divorce rate, our incarceration rate, our juvenile delinquency, and then they were putting it into just a nice, neat package that says, oh, because of the disproportionate percentage of you all who are affected by these things, this is the evidence of your inherent inferiority. Now, 30,000 students of the 30,000, 1,500 were Black. And when I ask what the cause and what's the cure, they say, we don't know the cause, we don't know the cure. But because of affirmative action, you're a double minority, you're both Black and female, you can get paid for doing the research. And of course, we can show you how to slant your research to prove whatever it is you're hypothesizing, and based upon the applicability of your findings to science, to medicine, to education, to whatever, then you can continue to get paid. And that was the straw that broke the camel's back for me. And I went directly to God, show me what this is. And what I remembered was that at 7, I didn't want to eat the meat. At 7, I was throwing my parents' cigarettes away. At 7, I was throwing their alcohol away. And at 19, going on 20, I'm smoking, I'm drinking, I'm still eating the meat. And then I looked at whose businesses these are. And I realized that these are the businesses of the same generations who captured us, enslaved us, beat us, raped us, cut our pregnant bellies open. They're still cutting our pregnant bellies open, right? Castrated us, set us afire, hung us, took pictures, postcards of hanging Africans from trees through the South. I'm just saying. So I remembered all of this, and I just did. I am not giving him another goddamn dime, and I stopped eating everything and just had fruit in the morning and huge salads in the evening. See, at some point, the mentality say mind over matter. It has to matter to us that we are being marginalized. It has to matter to us that we are not following what God told us. We're trying to get validated by these people, but they have to be some of the sickest people on the planet. Why? Because it takes a sick people to create multi-trillion-dollar business in global sickness, illness, and disease. That's not what a healthy people would do. You understand? So it's not about supremacy. That's not supremacy. That is illness. That is sickness. Why are they sick? Because the blood is defiled from rotting pigs and cows and turkeys and chicken and alcohol and tobacco and pastries and donuts and subs and all of the white flour stuff that Europe has been eating all of this time, and the sugar and all of this. And we have not really understood the perpetuation of illness through the bloodline. But they're trying to tell us, okay, well, it's in your gene. You understand? You got a history of this, but y'all got a history of wickedness. Y'all got a history of savagery. Y'all got a history of all of this. Okay, but why? Because the blood is defiled. So you have to care. That's where you start. You have to care. You have to not want to give them another freaking dime. You all don't deserve another dime from us. You understand? We support our own death. Life was the gift. It didn't cost you anything. We came through the blood of our mothers. I mean, you understand, there was blood sacrifice for us to even be in the realm. And so it takes a mentality of care. And when you're sick of participating in our own oppression and just having it as a conversation, then it's going to be much easier to just do fresh fruit. Tons of fruit, leafy greens, vegetation, you understand, get you some herbs and all of that. So the mentality, the care and the response. And I had an evening class. I had an evening course that was a social movements class. And a very distinguished European man who was probably University of Florida alumni, he has you to write down what it is that you aspire towards in your life. Now, I was 5 years old watching the March on Washington with Dr. King and Ralph Abernathy and Julian Bond and Coretta Scott and all of that. And I knew, everything in me knew I should be progression of that movement. Everything in me knew that we should be progression of us as a movement. 40 years to the day later, I'm in Dr. King's house serving Coretta Scott King. And I said, Mrs. King, I am so grateful for all of what you all did. But you didn't ask the right question. She said, what question is that? She said, what makes a man, I said, what makes a man feel entitled to capture you, enslave you, beat you, rape you, sodomize you, set you afire, tar and feather you? You understand? Declare that you have no rights, that they have the responsibility to respect, but then they need you. She said, what is that? I said, because their blood burns hot with the rot of pigs and cows and turkey and alcohol and tobacco and sugar and all of the eggs and all of this stuff. That's what it is. So at this particular point, we can't have any, our liberation and our salvation is not by virtue of our blackness. Our liberation and our salvation is not by virtue of our Africanity. Our liberation and our salvation is going to be by virtue of the blood and the cleansing of the blood, because it will be the blood that will be your salvation or your condemnation. I don't even go to church. You understand? But there's certain things that ring true that we done heard all of our lives. And then you can put all of the intellectualization about our political, our economic, our this, that, and the other, and you will not get what I just said. You understand? Nobody is getting what I'm saying, okay, in terms of our personal duty, obligation, and responsibility in the exaltation of life, in honoring ourselves, in allowing for other beings to have the right to their lives, no longer participating in the violation against other creatures, because what we do unto others will be done unto us. So it's not good enough to just be good people. Good people are dying every day. No, you got to be aspiring towards your greatness. You are basically one of the most, see, and this is my realization. We are all these living, loving, intelligent, potent, immortal points of an absolute and supreme intelligence, gifted with so much greatness that has come in our DNA through lineages of people whose names we may never know. And then we've been oppressed with all of this garbage. So the cleaner we get, the more access we get to the greatness of who we are, to the liberation of our gifts, talents, skills, and abilities, to come to a point where it's not just about the art that we do in our woods and our paints and this and that. It's about being the artist that reshapes this realm in which we are, to be the evidence of the kingdoms and queendoms of God upon the planet. We want that power. We want those changes on behalf of our children, grandchildren, great grandchildren, great, 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 great. You understand? But we have to respect the intelligence of existence that is everywhere. And that cleansing, your body's going to start cleansing anyway. So in college, when I went from eating absolutely everything to just having fresh fruit and leafy greens, salads. It would take me an hour to eat that salad. I went from 127 pounds to 103 in less than 45 days with no additional exercise. I didn't know any of the things that I can give people now, but here we are 47 years later. You understand? So 47 years later, after the intensification of the genocide, which means that each generation got more saturation of BHA, BHT, artificial colors, artificial flavors, da 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 da. So the knocking, the seeking, the asking, and see, this is how powerful God is, because we were told to knock and ask and seek. And when I asked, show me what this is in college, and then listening in that social movements class, he played this reel to reel tape of all of the voices of our Black Power movement, our civil rights movement, our this, that. I was so full when I came out of that class. I was screaming, let me live to make a difference in this world, or let me not live at all. I refuse to be enslaved, and I refuse to work every day for a freaking dollar, trading men like you trade shoes, bringing babies into the world to just be slaves under the forces of Satan, Lucifer, and the devil, and then watch everybody die. And I have no potency as a grain of sand on the beach. I refuse. So you've got to have conviction, and you've got to have commitment, and you've got to care. And what I've done, you can do it. Just like they said, Jesus said, when I was a little girl, these things I do, you can do also at even greater things. Now, our time is now to do the greater things. Y'all can give up this stuff. You can give it up overnight. Throw that away. Throw it away. Just empty your empty your cabinets, empty your refrigerator. You understand? Go on a fast. Get you some dirt. Get you some clay. Begin to drink. You understand? I'm just saying, it's like, it is not that difficult a thing when you realize what we're facing. And being exterminated from the face of the earth like freaking roaches is completely unacceptable if we want to be respected as intelligent people. You understand? See, it's a lot of conversation going on, but every life will end in death, and death is a program. So if you died here, then you weren't really successful. You say, well, everybody dies. I'm saying, but see, everybody's not supposed to be dying. Everybody's not supposed to be dying. We didn't come from a God of death. We come from an absolute and supreme intelligence that is beginningless, endless, infinite, and eternal. Our lineages go back thousands and thousands of years. Ain't no way in hell we supposed to be dying. We are here to exalt them, to bring the greatness of them forward, to come to a point and place where life is our gift. And we are doing the dance and the celebration and the rejoicing on a daily basis because we know who we are. We know whose we are. And we are filled to overflowing with the gratitude and the thanksgiving for the blessedness of our being as some of the most powerful spirits on the planet and still maturing. Still maturing. Some of my generation have already gone. Many of my little playmates and whatnot, they died in their 30s and 40s. You understand? I'm almost 70 years old, and I'm gonna tell you, I am still in my rise. And watch me. Why don't you?
Thank you, sis. Thank you very much. Undiku.
I love the energy. It's interesting that again we're having this conversation after last week's conversation,
Yep,
and with me
it's
digging
amazing.
now into womb manhood and looking at foods. I just got off the phone getting groceries, ordering a lot of fruit because now I have to change to having fruit in the morning and salads. So the one thing I am now doing, and I'm slowly transitioning, is the beef and the chicken. I'm saying no to for now. Well, now I am doing, and I'm still on the fish. That's where I am. But I'd like you to speak more about the using clay. Using clay. So growing up, I used to crave it.
Right,
I've been told it's because I'm anemic,
right.
right? When I was pregnant, I was craving it. I went to the African stores to get it. I was eating it. It didn't
Right.
harm me. It didn't harm me. And it always nourished me. And then now I'm reading these books and hearing you, and I'm being told it's okay. And actually, it's better for my health, for eating, for fishing, for the animal. And I'm like, I'm so tired of these people lying to me all these years. I
Right.
like speak more about the clay and how we should use it because people, I am certain I'm not the only one who is getting my mind blown, just like I got it blown when I realized Christianity was a fraud.
Mhm.
Um, so
Yeah. So
please
I
speak
had,
more.
as
Yeah.
a child, a craving for chalk, cornstarch, argo starch, dirt. Didn't realize what that craving was until I was pregnant. And I was maybe 4 months pregnant. I'm on the bus here in Atlanta, going to from downtown to the West End. And are you all familiar with Dr. Lila Africa? Right. He wrote the book African Holistic Health. Well, I was around him quite a bit during the time that he was writing that book. And we were studying with our elder Josiah Oswagu from
Yeah.
UCLA.
A friend just recommended
And so,
Africa.
and so
Go on.
anyway, I was going to see Lila, and Bill Cosby had given Morehouse all of this money, and they began to expand campus. So there's this huge pile of red dirt on top of the earth where they had excavated, and my mouth watered. So by the time I got to Lila, I asked him. He said, "Oh, your body's just craving minerals. Go get you some clay." So I went to the health food store and I got the clay that they had. But then, as destiny would have it, I met a sister who had started traveling to Africa. And I think that she brought this red clay back from, where was she, in Senegal or somewhere, right? And so I started, dealing with her with the clay, and she and I ended up, manifesting a 4.5 acre property, and beginning to have classes and things. And then they came under the influences of somebody practicing something other, setting up and turning the whole house into like shrines and this and that. And so everything kind of fell apart. But she ended up going back to Africa, going back to Ghana, and she ended up passing away. And when she passed away, I was just coming off a 40-day fast, and I had just established a new residence. And I'm listening to these tapes because, for all of the years of doing radio, I have all of these tapes. So I'm hearing her voice and then seeing this picture. And then I get a phone call that she had passed away, right? Just in the course of a few hours. And so I called her daughter to see if she would be uh, dealing with the clay, because this clay is a deep red clay. It doesn't have the grit, it's smooth. So I get it. And it's coming from the other side of Sedona, Arizona, but it's deep within the earth. It's not surface dirt. So I shave it, I bake it, I powder it, and we do the facial with the red clay. It's completely edible. I don't think anybody has had more clay than me, because I've been dealing with this clay ever since I was pregnant with my son, and he'll be 43 in June. All right, so it's definitely not toxic. All right, and then the bentonite, which many people are familiar with, is what they're referring to as volcanic ash, but it's mineral rich. So I blend the two for my internal cleansing clay, and we drink it. We douche with it with apple cider vinegar. It has a stronger pull for loosening all of the coagulation of the mucus and the chemicals and all of that. And then we want the bowels to move prior to. Now, the body is trying to cleanse in the morning, right? When we rise, in the rising. So this is when we initiate our protocol, is in the rising, right? So that we're getting stuff out, because our program in the system has been get up, get out, get up, get out, get up, get out. Right. But now we're getting up and getting it out and keeping it moving, but giving ourselves opportunity to also get focused, because we are not here on man's mission. We are here on God's mission. So we have to learn to put God first. And that's through the clearing and the purification and the consecration of the body as the temple for the re-enthronement of the true spirit of the living God, Goddess that is our truth. But it is about consistency over time. But the pain that I have sometimes is that I have been so consistent over all of these decades. And I find that so many people will get it, but they won't use it. They'll get it, but they won't commit. They'll get it, but they won't activate it. They'll drink the clay, but then they won't do the enemas. They'll do the enemas, but they won't drink the clay. They won't give up the fish. You understand? And I'm saying I've developed a protocol, right, that will help us to create the most expeditious cellular clearing, cleansing, disease reversal, and consciousness expansion possible in the least amount of time for the least amount of money. You understand? Because it's not expensive. It's not expensive to heal. It's expensive to be dying. We paid for all of the stuff. We paid for all of that. Nobody gave you all of that. You paid for all of the stuff that's making you sick.
So
Wow.
do you have somewhere we can buy the clay that you
I,
make?
well, I ship. I sell and ship and do consult here at my center. And I am realizing that with DHL and FedEx, that shipping into Africa is more expensive than the actual product themselves. You're gonna pay more in shipping
Yep.
than you will for the actual package, and
Yeah.
that's troublesome for me. So now I'm trying to get people to look in their area when you're international, to find out if you can find bentonite, and then look for whatever clays that are there. I also have a herbal formula that is my cleansing, nourishing formula that has about 40 herbs, which were the herbs that were in Dr. Sebi's $750 package. All right. Now the issue is most people who are packaging herbs, they do it by systems, right? So it's 5 to 7 herbs per system, but then you have to buy a whole thing to deal with the whole body. So we're we're drinking the tea, and it's affordable. I'm just saying is that the teas, the clay has minerals. To open up the bowel, we add Himalayan or Celtic salt with the clay, warm water, drink it in the morning, or do a salt flush before, because so many people are constipated. So many people have irregular bowels. So many people have irritable bowel syndrome. So many people have, cancer of the colon. But all of my clients who have had cancer basically have had chronic constipation all of their lives because we woke up and we had pancakes, waffles, grits, eggs, cheese, and stuff that does not move through our colon. And so I find that, and then so the herbs are there. Then we have my master formula for those who have taken the COVID shots, and it has extra herbs for the brain, for the immune system, the 13 medicinal mushrooms, more herbs for the heart, the eyes, the liver, the kidneys, the lungs, the parasites. Then I have what I call my mucus bust.
Thank
The
you. Thank you for that
Yeah,
one.
because
Thank you.
we gotta. What they're finding is that these particles are like in the blood, like sand, and then they're coagulating,
Mm-hmm.
and they're making these like latex clots, not blood clots, but latex clots, which are now forming throughout the body. So some of the undertakers are not even able to get formaldehyde into their veins and arteries and whatnot, because of how much clotting there is, particularly for those who took all of the series. All right. So then I have the detox bath, which is just pure bentonite. So I know that sometimes the smaller bags of the bentonite is not enough. You need to be able to use at least a cup or two per bath. And for those who've had the shot, then we add um, baking soda and borax to it because it increases the magnetism of the clay to pull out the nanoparticles and the adjuncts and the spike proteins and things that were in those shots. Then, and the shot was intended to undermine and compromise our already compromised immune system. So I am in counsel
Mm-hmm.
with those ones who did not have, if I could just exacerbated whatever the issue they already had that they didn't know was there.
I got COVID after the three. I had the first, the second, and the booster, and I got COVID after all three
Right.
of them. And for us, we were forced. You couldn't go to work. You couldn't travel to London. So a lot of us were forced to take
Right.
this.
And I tell people all the time, y'all, but see, this is the whole point in being divided within ourselves because everybody just could have just not go to work. Make this shit work without us working it. you
Listen,
know,
Yeah.
Alaji, I have lost a home for not going to work. So,
I'm just
and
saying
was
is that
risking being on the
the
street.
home is the body. These people do not have the right to tell you have to be poisoned in order to generate a living. You understand? That's
Mm.
And unfortunately, our community is not of the mindset that to get out of this system where we are dependent, we are workers, and we are being exploited, we have to come together so that we can build
exactly.
together,
But
buy the land
but
together, and
that's what
not be
this
dependent.
does. That's what the cleansing
We're not
does.
there yet.
That's what the cleansing does. That's why I am intensifying my intention to allow you all to hear me and to feel me and to hear the logic of this. Because if you're divided within yourself, which is the methodology of our oppression, then you can't come together with other ones. You understand? And by nature of us dealing with a diet that is oppressive, that is not originally ours in the first place, then we are literally being modified, DNA modified to not be able to even invoke the capacity we have for communality. That's in there. This is what this does to us. You understand? It changes our DNA. And so we're having to realize how powerful the water is and that the water holds intention and it is programmable. That's why we're reconstituting the body to be 80% highly charged water. And water will hold our faith, it will hold our confidence, it will hold, and it's programming. If I have a glass of water here, right? And it's been shown that even tap water, you understand, if you infuse your water, and you pray over your water is going to be totally different when it comes into your system. Now, you can have the best water, drink the water, and have all these negative and nasty thoughts, and you're going to change the water in your body. You understand? So, we're just having to respect who we are, whose we are, what we're made out of. Intelligence. We can accomplish whatever we will, but we cannot be divided and we cannot be a detriment to ourselves and survive it.
But sister,
Yes, sir.
The power of the thoughts, it's the most important thing, as you just said, that the power of the thoughts.
Mhm.
And we've been so indoctrinated with so many things, that the education, the pharmaceuticals, you name it. As we're in community with our people today, how can we tell them, because our thoughts is what makes us, is what breaks
Mhm.
us. How can we help people understand and realize that we have power, immense power, that we don't realize we
Right.
have it?
And that's why I'm explaining that we're made 80% water. Water is the reality. Water is the joy. We came through water. Water is everywhere. It's in the air. Y'all never wondered when we were children how it was that the earth was so moist and wet when it didn't rain? You understand? They call it dew and whatnot. But I'm just saying, we are literally in an ocean of cosmic consciousness. There's water in the air and air in the water, and we are intelligent. So it's like really understanding that the order of existence, or that which I refer to as the law of existence, is love. The fulfillment of the law of existence is love. But love is not just an emotional thing. Love is the harmony of the truth that we are all these points of an absolute and supreme intelligence that are breathing, having beating hearts, and are perfectly and divinely designed. And because of the intelligence of our Creator, we are all complementary to one another. So there should be an inherent respect, eye to eye. Every eye sees as an eye of God, but we have to be cleared and cleansed in order to restore the godliness, the right alignment, the righteousness, the caring, the love, the respect, the cherishing, the treasuring of each of us with one another and all others. This is what's missing. You understand? The governments, the religions, nobody taught us love. They didn't show us love. You understand? But love is the fulfillment of the law. And accomplished love is the real peace. You don't get peace from bombing and killing people. You don't get peace from avoiding confrontation. You don't get peace from just shutting up and letting people walk all over you. You understand? No, peace is accomplished love. And we have the power through our word. In the beginning, there was the word, and the word was God, and the word was with God, to invoke and call forth our angels, our guides, our guardians. But when we're full of garbage, it's harder. When your body is full of sludge, it's harder. Period. It's harder. You got to get cleaned up.
It is.
You got to,
It's very
yeah.
hard.
But your thoughts, you have to have thoughts of reconciliation. You have to have thoughts of love. You have to really rethink it, because there's a um, there's a documentary that came out years ago called "What the Bleak Do We Know?" What the bleak do we know? And it is a documentary that talks about the effect of thought on the waters of our cell and on the cells at the water. Dr. Emoto did a book called The Power of Water, and he took certain things of water and he programmed them with different things. So love and gratitude. I'm so full of love and gratitude. And then there was other ones like I hate you, I hate you, I hate. You understand? And he crystallized all of those ones, and they made these crystals. All right. The love and gratitude crystal, you can pull it up on Google, print it out, and cut it out and put it on your cell phone. It acts like a diode. I have these chi rods. So if my phone does not have any diodes on it, the chi rods will go cross, like they'll go cross like this. They'll cross up, right? When you put the diode, or you put the molecule, the paper image of the molecule infused with love and gratitude, put it there, and then the chi rods open up like this. And so the issue is this: if a picture of the water molecule infused with love and gratitude will offset the EMF frequencies of our cell phones, then what will happen if every atom and every cell of our being reconstituted to being 80% highly charged mineralized water is infused with love and gratitude for the blessedness of being? You understand? The thanksgiving of being these points of the presence of this absolute and supreme intelligence. I'm just saying is that it is science, and it is art, it is physics, it's life. That's our grace, that's our protection, that's our power.
You know,
Wow.
it's interesting. I have been sitting. I'm now in the education field, And I've been sitting in class with the kids as they're learning chemistry and biology. And I am feeling very much in the moment that I need to be in that space. And I am seeing it in a very different way. I mean, those classes wonder, feeling bad for the children that they're not seeing it the way I'm seeing it.
Right.
I'm seeing it as answers to many of the issues that we have that we keep
Right.
ignoring. I was just seeing in the comments the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, and the water cycle. If you sit with those and just understand,
Right. But the issue is that when your blood is defiled, it's hard to be able to really uh, make the right inferences for the information that you'll be given. You can't really think, and that was what was so mind blowing and mind opening for me, changing my diet in college, is that I was not having to labor over my books. You understand? I mean, I would have to be really laboring over my books. And then that 45 days of going from 127 pounds to 103, my mind got so sharp that I could read the chapter, go to class, hear what was being said, hear what was not being said, read between the lines, and form the critical questions. I had my professors literally on their freaking knees. They cried like babies with me. You understand? The clarity of mind, that's why we're being poisoned, so we can't outthink the stupidity. We can get
exactly.
validated and miseducated and religiously indoctrinated by it. You understand? Socialized in a death culture to believe I can do whatever I want because God gave me free will. I'm saying the Creator gave you so much of itself and it gave you absolute law. Okay? It did not give you the right to be killing yourself or your children or dishonoring your lineages. That's a lie. And
Oladile, let's see what the community is
Okay,
saying, man.
I'm gonna go to the questions, my sister. The first one here. What are your thoughts on the US soil quality from which our produce is grown?
I'm going to add something to that question before you answer it. The fact that it is soaked with the blood of many. So, how do we
Wow.
deal with that soil that is soaked with the blood of many?
there's a
That's it.
process called biodynamics. And basically, when you're looking at commercially grown food, you don't really have to eat it. You can grow where you're at. But the issue is you have to learn to keep a compost. So whatever vegetation you have, you put it in your compost. You can compost your own urine in there. You can compost your own waste in there. You understand? We just have been so dependent upon other ones and those who hate us to feed us. So yeah, let the soil get as bad as it can be so that we begin to apply ourselves to our creator, because there is not a goddamn going thing that can keep us from exalting a full effort in our living and whatnot once we have made a decision to live. What I find is that so many urban gardeners and farmers and whatnot, they are cultivating the land, but they have not cultivated the land that is their body temple. They're still
Hmm.
poisoned themselves. And I look at this as one of the reasons why so many black farmers lost their land, because their bodies were filled with the rot of pigs and cows and alcohol and this and that. Yes, they were cultivating, but then they started doing commercial crop. So my son's paternal grandfather had, 300 acres of land in South Georgia. And he basically was not even growing food for the family. He was growing pecans. He was growing peanuts. He was commercial. That's kind of how the mentality of us is, that we want commercial farming, but we don't want to feed and teach our children and this and that. So I'm just saying, everything, when we are centered in the absolute reality, that we dwell in the reality of nothing but the absolute and supreme intelligence, we are rocked like babies in the ever embracing arms of the ever present. We were told to ask and it would be given, to knock and the door would be open. We have untapped genius in here. We can accomplish anything, but we can speak to the soil just like we speak to the plants. We can change the DNA of the seed, of what you get, where you get stuff for seed, and put it in your mouth. Put it in your mouth. Let your saliva get it and then plant it, and it will grow. That will have a pattern that's fit for your DNA. There's so much we don't know.
That's a huge
Okay.
statement. There's so much we don't know.
Yeah, yeah. So as we're seeing, I'm learning
I mean,
from you
we
today.
are
Basically,
prepared here with things
I've
we
been to
know with our
lectures.
PhDs and doctorates, and those are the most. I
Yeah,
mean,
all the DVDs.
And then the other thing is that as intelligence, when we are cued and see the mind, you understand, the mind can undermine you, or it's fertile ground for being able to get the direct downloads from the divine mind. That's why we clean.
Wow,
You
money
understand? So that
minded.
if
wow.
you've been in your house, if you've been in your house for a few years, right, and you are walking your land and you won't poison your land, then what happens is that if you have some kind of condition, what you need is going to grow up around you. We don't understand who we
Mm,
are, where we are in the presence of God as these points of the presence of God. These people cannot keep us from the glory of who we are, but we have to reclaim ourselves.
wow.
We do need to do that.
Okay,
Yes.
I got another question, my sister. This sister here says, can you give us a few words on Bobby Hermit?
Bobby brought forth a lot of information. I interviewed him one night, about 6 hours. And then I went to his event because everybody kept asking me, well, do you know Bobby Hemmett? Bobby Hemmett, he was here in Atlanta. And I said, everything is vibration and frequency and vibration. So, no, Bobby and I had not met because we're on different frequencies, right? But then I'm on radio one night and substituting for my Sunday brother who does a program that he was supposed to interview on. So I interviewed him, and it's a 6 hour show. And so he had a lot of information, a lot of information, a lot of information. But I went to his event, and I've never seen a person have a thing and then have a stack of books. So he had a stack of books, and he was making reverence from all of these books, but he had a beach ball belly, right? And then after his lecture, he was talking about, have y'all heard, y'all tasted that KFC? It's better than ever now. I mean, something really, I'm just saying. So we can have information, we can read, study, and become very, very in depth at all of that. But the issue for us is understanding that we don't really even have to have books when we tapped in, get tuned in. You understand? For those who wrote the book. And what I realized is that the only real job that I had for any length of time was for 5 years working for a metaphysical book distributor. So I'm in 5,000 square feet of all of the metaphysics, the holistic health, the herbs, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, the occult. I mean, that I was packing and shipping and taking orders. I did that for 5 years. So I got opportunity to see the books, to handle the book, to talk to the publishers, to talk to the authors. But I realized that what happens is that you are encouraged and inspired by virtue of what you think you know at the time. And you put pen to paper. But because we're in an eternal motion that is timeless, some of that information is not relevant for a certain time. When you have been steeped in absolute truth, however, then we can access it. But otherwise, books generally sit on shelves. Now, how they outlast the people, you understand? And so I'm just saying is that we have to realize that and I wrote a book years ago called Liberation is a Cellular Function. That's why I have this title. And the book has actually, I would not publish the book because it did not make sense to me to publish the book and people would not have the actual, the clay, the herbs, the water, the contact and whatnot to really do the inner cleansing. So turns out that Jeff Adams from Vegan Linked came and interviewed me 5 hours. An hour, 50 minutes of that interview is condensed, but that is the substance of the book. It says vegan since 1978. That's the substance of the book. When people order my products, then I give them what I refer to as the recommendations, which is 17 pages. This is the most important part of the book, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of what you actually do daily, right? And then, but then I realized that it was written years ago. I haven't redone the affirmation. So it has food lists, food formulas. It has certain, requisite as to how you start the day. And then I also give audio files, a transformational breathing thing, a reprogram towards conscious immortality. My teacher's writing my voice. So affirmations for the reprogramming, right? And so the key is just the consistency and the diligence to know this is not something you do for a moment. You understand? And if I were to write another book, and people say, well, you should write a book. I said, but most of the people who need to get it are not readers. We're visuals now. We're hearing. We need to see. And reading is not going to be as powerful as you dealing with me directly, because you get the emotion, you get the emphasis, you get to feel the spirit of me. You understand? And this is how blessed we are to have so much available to us, so that the world is much smaller than it's ever been. And we are able to create a global initiative that is a boycott of the death industry as global grassroots movement through our communication. But each one has to do the internal work. You have to ask, you have to knock, you have to clear, you have to cleanse, you have to consecrate your body. The consecration comes with the praying without ceasing. I love you with my whole body, heart, mind, with all of my might. Thank you for the clearing, the cleansing, the purification. I thank you for my forgiveness, for my own participation in my own cellular oppression. Forgive me for my violations against other beings. Clear and cleanse me from my transgressions. You understand? We got to be like David, writing our own Psalms. So I ask people, one, write down what it is you're consuming daily. Then you have another journal that you put your prayers in writing. Ask and it will be given. Knock and the door will be open. Give thanks as if you'd already received it. You understand? Give thanks. I'm giving thanks that this boycott of the death industry is on and it is popping. You understand? That we are raising up all over the planet. I don't have to know how. I just have to do what I'm told. I have to show up when I'm asked. Everybody ain't asking. So when people call me and ask me, yeah, I'm showing up. We gonna do this. But I'm encouraging you to realize what you must do, because you can't be about it if it's not integritous. The integrity has to happen at the cellular level, because you're perfectly and divinely designed. And that integrity is 80% highly mineralized, alkalized, charged water. That's not nuts and bread and spelt flour and cheese and eggs. It ain't none of that. Get this out of your body. You know what I'm saying? You will be feeling better, but it is the disease reversal. You heal. This is how we heal from everything.
There is something we were speaking at Oladele before you go to the next question. There's something, as you pull it up, there's something we were speaking about before we came live, and I'd like to share it with the rest of the community because I think it's an important lesson.
Okay.
When Oladele shared that he was amazed that he was able to reach you so easily, and we were talking about our frustrations with how a lot of the knowledgeable, a lot of the elders, a lot of the young ones with knowledge that they need to impart on us cannot be accessed because of the costs that they're charging to access them. So please speak about that and say what you said, because I think it's a lesson that needs to be spread,
Right.
and should not end with just me and Oladile.
Oh, absolutely. I have been doing what I call inspirational lifestyle change consulting for 24 years, right? And, you know, I'm building my presence in the world. So when people call me, they are surprised that they could reach me. But I give my number all the time. And they say, well, what's the best way to communicate with you? Your number for life support. And I've been doing this on radio for the past 25 years. Your number for life support is 678-760-9299. So when people call and they say, sister, well, how much do you charge for consulting? How much do you charge for your consultation? I say, well, how much do you pay to talk to God? And then they take that break just like that. And it's like I say, it's just a conversation. How old are you? I just go into it. And a lot of people, when I answer my phone, they are just, they're dumbfounded. Sometimes people like break down and cry because they never thought that they would be able to reach me. And what I am putting forward, it resonates with so many ones now. We are the chosen ones. It's just that now we're having to choose. You understand? Because see, you could be chosen and then lose because of your disobedience and your disobedience. You understand? But no, the thing that I realize is that no, everybody wants to, pimp the people in their desperation and all of this. And I'm saying, and this is why I tell people I am not a naturopath. I am not an herbalist. I am a woman. My duty, obligation, and responsibility as a woman is to know how to nourish and nurture and perpetuate life.
Exactly.
I've applied myself to that. My BA in psychology did not give me that. We had no nutrition courses, nothing that was a requisite. And when I realized after changing my diet in college, I held my professors to task. You bring 17, 18-year-olds in here, put us in a completely adulterated situation. We're smoking, we're drinking, we're screwing, we're doing everything that we never did at home. And then we get graduate and don't know a freaking thing about anything. And we never were taught how to honor ourselves or how to eat or how to promote optimum cellular functioning for optimum thought.
Yeah.
Thought is the capacity to really be in dynamic rapport with our creator. It's through thinking. The praying is one thing because you're taking your energy and you're formulating words that are fueled by certain energy and enthusiasm and passion and fire and whatnot. And sometimes when I give people affirmations, the first affirmation in my thing, it says, I dwell in the presence of the absolute. I am a presence of the absolute. I'm immersed in the infinity of possibilities. There is nothing I cannot accomplish. Right. And so when people call me and they've gotten the protocol and they've gotten it, and I say, are you doing the affirmation? Well, yeah, I'm doing it. I say, well, how are you doing the affirmation? I dwell in the presence of the absolute. I am a presence of the absolute. I'm immersed in the infinity of possibility. There's nothing I cannot accomplish. And then later on in the conversation, when they're talking about the husband, well, and I'm like, if you take that energy and put it where I told you, then you get somewhere. Okay, you got to have some fire with you. You got to, you understand? It's like the energy, the enthusiasm, the zealousness, the faith, the confidence, the knowing. Yeah, you know he was this, that, and the other, but do you know who you are as this, that, and this other? As the just you understand? Yeah, we got to get fired up. We have to have some intentionality. We got to have some righteous indignation about where we are, who we are, whose we are, and why we're gonna raise up and not taking names. I'm just saying we got to do this.
Thank you, sis. Okay, the final question here. This one's basically a lot of people. Basically, I think this pride could be Nigeria. What's wrong with eating chicken and fish?
The,
Africans have eaten these foods for thousands of years.
yeah,
It's, we can always adjust the
Let me
seasoning
let me let,
used to reduce the salt
let me
content.
quickly say something so that you can add to the question. The minute I saw that, I was like, brother, it's not about the seasoning. That's not what it's
tell me
about.
again. I didn't hear.
But to add to this, because I asked myself the same question. So I have noticed, because I've lived on both ends, on the continent and here. And on the continent, we ate meat, and it didn't have the same effect it does to us when we are here. But also, our teeth structure, if we've learned, for those of us who went to school and were taught about teeth and what they're necessary for, we do have canines that are meant to tear flesh. So please speak on it.
But we don't have canine and we don't have claws to jump on the back of a cow and take it down and start chewing. You understand? We don't have we don't have the canines and whatnot to wrestle with and catch turkeys and wring their neck. Most of us are really abhorred with blood, but some grew up on farms and this and that. But when we were little, we were really into our pets and our animals. All right. But the issue is this: there is law that governs existence. Everything is ordered. All right. Everything is ordered. We are not dependent upon Caucasians and European culture to spin the earth or to blaze the sun. They do not beat our hearts, nor do they breathe us. Even though our ancestors may have eaten flesh and all of this. And then our issue is, where are we now, and why in the hell are we in a place and space where we're being exterminated from the face of the earth like roaches? All right. So the issue for me is the primary law of existence is thou shalt not kill. And then they say, well, we didn't kill it, but now your blood is defiled with the flesh of dead animals. Now, I used to fish when I was a little girl with my daddy. He would take me up to Canada and we would do freshwater fishing with rod and reel. And so we would be catching perch and trout and this and that. Right. And I was good. I was good at that. Right. But the issue is that the intelligence of existence and the intelligence of God is in everything. So once that fish catches that hook, and that hook is in its lip, now it is traumatized, it is in pain, it is struggling for the rest of its life. That is permeating all those hormones, cortisol, all of that is now poisoning its flesh. Whether we are talking about fish that are brought forward with the big ships that drop big nets and they just drag and pull everything. And then they pick out what they want, whether it's the tuna, whether it's the swordfish, whether it's this, whether it's that. And then whatever they don't need, they take it and grind it up and it becomes like a cement, and then they pellet it and then they give it back to the feedlots and the slaughterhouses for the cows and the pigs and the chickens who are not naturally flesh eaters to eat that flesh. So we're creating levels of disease that we have no sense of, because the prions from herbivores eating like carnivores and whatnot, they lay dormant in the brain for 35 years. And then what happens is that when they start activating, then people start losing their gait. It's the human form of mad cow disease, for example. You understand? Neurological dysfunctioning. So anything that is flesh, if you did not catch it yourself and eat it right away, then you have, and then depending on where you are, because the feedlots and the slaughterhouses are dumping hundreds of thousands of tons of feces into the waters and streams. And this is 90% of the global warming from the methane that is produced from the feces of all of these animals. And the fish are swimming through and they're doing like a filtration with their gills so that their flesh may have up to 1 million times the concentration of nitrates, nitrites, larvicides. Larvicides are the chemicals that they spray the animals' food down with so that their feces does not draw flies. All right, so we're getting a plethora of chemicals in the flesh and the tissues of the fish. The chicken is the most bastardized of these creatures, right? And in 2009, there was a mandate called Codex Alimentarius, where all animals here in the States are raised for human consumption. They had to be assaulted with a whole nother series of antibiotics because the infection, the microbes and whatnot are intelligence. Now, what we have to realize in terms of the nature of intelligence is that it always exalts a full effort to maintain, sustain, and continue its life. So all of these microorganisms and bacteria, they come to a point where they are no longer, they morph and they become stronger in light of the antibiotics, right? So 90% of all of the antibiotics are used on the animals that are being fed to the people. And so what's happening in our bodies from eating the chicken, which was in captivity, which had its beak burned, which it was defecating and urinating all on each other. They burn the beak so that they don't peck each other to death because of how overcrowded they are. These animals are kept in situations that are more intense than our people being packed like sardines on the bottoms of slave ships. So we are literally inheriting and charging our cells, our blood, with the violation, the anguish, the angst, the frustration of animals that have been abused all of their lives. They knew no freedom whatsoever. They did not have a pecking order. They did not have freedom. They did not mate. They did not do anything that animals naturally do. And this is the key, too, is that all other animals will respond correctly and directly when they sense that their lives are being threatened. Whether it's the snake that strikes, whether it's the porcupine that throws its quill, whether it's the dog that attacks, whether it's the cat that runs. You understand, every order of existence loves its freedom to the degree to which it will fight or it will flight if it senses that its life is being threatened, except for the animals that the people are eating. The animals that the people are eating are not able to defend themselves. They're not able to fight. They're not able to fight. They are docile. They are in a place and space where they have to just handle the abuse until they die. And to be shot up with all kinds of preservatives, antibiotics, hormones, chlorine baths, and whatnot because of the infection. And then we're holding the infection in our urinary tract. We're holding the infection in our wombs. We're holding the infection. You understand? So by the time you look at the flesh of a dead animal that has to rot in your system, combined with all of the mucus from the breads, potatoes, the yams, the all of the starches and whatnot. So we get carbonic acid from the carbohydrates, uric acid from the meats, no matter whose body it is, and then the lactic acid from the dairy. So all of this acidity, this is what is causing our cancer. This is what's causing the cysts and the tumors. I'm meeting sisters who've already had double mastectomies and they only had a lump that was this big in the breast that the clay and the water and the change of the diet could have dissipated.
Wow. I've learned a lot today. Oh wow, you're fire, sis. Fire. I'm feeling the energy.
Can I say something before you ask the question? That because I know you're going to do the last question to the guest, to our sister.
I was going to ask a question as well, personal question, because I'm battling with something in my head. So I'll let you go and go first.
We've had many people who come and listen to us, and especially myself. Oladele is a nicer person, according to the audience. And they don't like when they hear me speak truth. But I'm telling you all in this moment, I'm feeling uncomfortable, very uncomfortable listening to the truth that Sister Alaji is sharing. But I'm not rebuking her. I'm not rebuking her. And this is where we need to change. Our people need to change. When you're being told the truth, stop being defensive. Stop it. It's not about how she said it. Oh, it's how you said it. No, is it still the truth, no matter how they said it?
Right.
So sit with it, be uncomfortable. I don't know why our people, especially, because that's my main focus, expect that walking towards liberation is going to be an easy journey. I do not know why you expect that. Considering all, relatively, right? We're talking about easy, as we understand easy in the society we are in now. I don't know why you expect pushing against the oppressor is going to be easy. So I'm telling you all now, the way you feel when I talk to you a certain way about certain things, I'm feeling it now in the truth that has just been laid upon us. And I'm not rebuking our sister for it. I'm going to take it away and sit with it and reflect on self. That's what I'm going to do. And that's what you should all do. Oladele.
My sister, this question I'm about to ask is personal. It's something I've been toying with for a while now. I'm in the process of going back to Nigeria to fully settle at the end of the year. That's the plan. The capitalist system, basically, this is the capitalist system states you have to do particular things to sustain yourself. You need money for this and that. We've got land, a lot of land that we're going to be using for. We have a plan to actually put down a seed bank to preserve the indigenous seeds in Africa. But the challenge I'm facing right now in my mind, as I'm talking to you now, and even my wife has not heard me say this, is capitalism to me is something I can just not get my head around. I don't want capitalism to be part of what I'm doing. But at the same time, we have to sustain ourselves in terms of basically making what we're doing sustainable. Can you help me with this? Can you see what I'm going with that? Because I know capitalism, because I hate capitalism for what it stands for. But at the same time, we need to build something that's going to sustain itself to actually make it impactful for the
You
community.
know, I had $1 million business with my strict vegetarian restaurant, Custom Adornment Boutique. I specialized in doing custom jewelry, beads, all of that. Had imports from all Africa, drums, fabrics, candles, all of that for 5 years. And I gave it all up because I realized that on my most prosperous month, and my season is generally from spring to fall, right? And the most prosperous month might be $20,000, right? But it was only like still a handful of people based upon the billions of people who are on the planet. All right. And so I went into a fast the day I closed my restaurant because I knew I needed to change my life. Because my passion and what I was seeing is that people are coming into my restaurant who will have, I had a 14 item salad bar, a lot of organic thing. And this is from 1994 to 1999. Okay, this is how long ago this was. All right. And people would eat with me one day, but then they go back and eat other things. It's like vegetarianism is like novelty. It's just something you do every now and again. You understand? Or they would come in and sit the baby over here or whatever and want to order their custom jewelry. And I'm asking, well, what is the baby drinking? And she says, milk. I said, but whose milk is it? Is it your milk? She was like, well, no. I said, whose milk is it? Cow's milk? I said, but you're not a cow. The baby's not a cow. You understand? So I used to really challenge people, or they would come in and they would say, oh, well, sister, give me the veggie burger and I want the mushrooms to go on it and, the non-cheesy sauce and give me a strawberry smoothie with that. So you can have the smoothie or you can have the veggie burger. But I'm not going to give you both. Well, but see, I'm not here to serve your appetite. I'm here to help you know how to feed yourselves. You understand? Give, but it became arduous because people are spending money, and I'm adorning dying spirits. So the day I closed the restaurant on June 4th of 1998, I went into a fast. It says, through fasting and prayer, the desires of your heart will be granted unto you. And so during that fast, my prayer, show me how to love you with my whole body, heart, mind, with all of my might. Let me be a glory and honor to the lineages through whom I've come. Let me no longer be enslaved to people's appetites and desires. Let me become a voice on behalf of our liberation and our resurrection. Show me how. Teach me what I need to know. And I prayed and I fasted for 72 days. And my life changed. I closed the business March 5th. I started that fast in June. I closed the whole thing March 5th on the 5th anniversary. I turned 41 the 3rd of March, got my broadcast certificate with WRFG radio. The 4th of March, closed my business the 5th of March, and I started doing radio. And I've been on radio ever since. And I don't even get paid for doing radio. It's complete volunteerism. And the only time and schedule I've had in my life for the last 25 years is being on that radio. I don't have to get up and go anywhere unless I have a particular appointment for dental appointment or eye exam or whatever. But that's the only time thing I've had on my life. And I give myself time to do my cleansing on a daily basis, to do my enemas on a daily basis. But what I realized is that when my money, I wasn't making the money that I was generating. I wasn't generating the money, but when I generated money, and this is where I developed my protocols. But when I generate money, then I would take first of everything and create new blood. So I'm going to get my greens, I'm going to get my water, I'm going to get my clays, I'm going to get my herbs. You understand? Before I pay anybody anything, I am going to nourish my cells and create new blood because that's the life currency. And the life currency, getting charged and whatnot, goes much further and is much more effective than the paper currency because we were told to ask and it would be given. So I say that to say that the purpose for which we are aligning ourselves to fulfill the will of God in our liberation and our resurrection and our commitment to the people is going to create the ways for you to be able to maintain and sustain yourself. You don't necessarily have to know how. You have to know that life is a faith walk. It says, according to our faith, so shall it be done unto us. And as you are reconstituting the body to be 80% highly charged water, the waters are holding the faith and the gratitude and the thanksgiving. Give thanks as if you've already achieved it. Do the lilies of the field and all of that have to worry? Do the birds of the air have to worry about how they're going to do that? We are being taken care of by our Creator, but we have not understood the process by which to invoke that faith and that confidence and speaking. So every day you get up and say, it is such a fabulous day, absolutely amazing. I am so grateful and so thankful to be this point of the presence of the absolute. I am connected to my source, and my source is always supplying infinitely, effortlessly, ceaselessly all of what I require in order to do whatever needs to be done. Money comes to me easily. Money loves coming to me because I know what to do with it. You understand? So I'm just saying, he said the power of the word, the power of the thought, the power of the belief. You understand? We're activating all of that. You understand? The issue is if you
Yep.
say, oh, well, I ain't got no money. Oh, well, I'm about to be evicted. Oh, well, I can't get no job. Oh, well, it's self-fulfilling prophecy. You all are the gods and goddesses that dwell in that temple. Clean the temple up. Consecrate the body. Get to a point and place where you and God are in the oneness, because that is who we are. That's what we are. And they taught us to believe in something and somebody that may not have ever existed, but we can go with the story. So I would say that the spirit that we each are is the Jesus, the I am. When you look at the word Je suis, I am. You're going to take the I out of Jesus. I'm just sweet. You got Jesus. Put the I in, just sweet. I am. All right. The I am presence that we each are is the son and daughter of the eternity, right? And then when we activate our faculties, our disciples, our 12 disciples of imagination, visioning, faith, confidence, intent, desire, enthusiasm, faith, you activate all of that. No, the issue is that when you clean that blood, right, you're creating the blood of Christ. You understand that I am presence becomes a Christed being, one who knows itself as divinity personified. That's what they're trying to keep us from. Oh yeah, you just another nigga. Oh, you just this man. You ain't that man. All of that. You understand? That's the program. That's not the truth. We are each of these points of an absolute and supreme intelligence. We should be supremely intelligent. We should not be killing ourselves or our children or bring dishonor and literally co-conspiring with the phasing out of our lineages. That is not what we're here to do. Purpose being is
Mm.
self-actualization, self-realization, self-mastery, harmonization with the laws of existence, obedience and obeyance in the utilization of our word, our intent, our will, our desire, the enthusiasm, our faculties, because we have this life currency and we're either investing in our life currency or we're expending our life currency. To have lived your life and just spent yourself, there's nothing left. You understand? The parasites and the mags, all them things ate you alive. You couldn't even get out the body. You understand? I'm saying, okay, you got so much mucus, so much acid, so much lump, so much all of this in your body. So your neurological functioning is blocked. Your respiratory functioning is blocked. Your circulatory functioning is blocked. Your digestive system is blocked. Your reproductive system is blocked. Your endocrine system is blocked. Your eliminative system is blocked. Your immune system was completely undermined. And I'm saying, if you got all of that going on, I don't think you can get out the body alive. You're blocked and obstructed from even getting out the body as a living being. That's death.
Mm.
That's why
I'm
we.
glad you explained that, the meaning of death that you are talking about. I thank you, Brother Oladile.
Okay, I just got one more question for you, sis. I'm just going to highlight it there now. So, what's the proper way to use activated charcoal? I have a container and I've never opened.
Um, well, I have an activated charcoal tooth powder that I've added clay and salt and black walnut hull and whatnot to for the teeth. but it is also good if you just add it to some warm water and drink it. The activated charcoal neutralizes poisons. I don't use it internally for that. I use the clays for that, but you can use it as something to activate or to neutralize the toxicity. But what we're doing, it has to be done daily. It has to be consistent, and then you have to be able to open up the channels of elimination, your skin, perspiration, sweating, so that that which is being loosened up can actually get out. You have to open up the bowel because the skin is the largest limitive organ, and then otherwise it has to come out through the bowel. So what happens a lot of time with those who have been bombarded with so much chemo and whatever, right, is that it may kill the cancer cells, but then the dead cancer cells cannot get out the body without some real effort. They don't, you understand? And by the time you do all of this chemo, the bowels are blocked. By the time you start having pain, they start giving you morphine. That's going to block the bowels. I have tried to do enemas for people who have been on chemo, and the bowel is so blocked and obstructed that the water just shoots out. They can't even get it up the rectum. You understand? So we have to be aggressive about consistency over time with any of it.
I can personally attest to that, especially that morphine, that painkillers. It will block you so hard, you will do things that you cannot speak of in front of people to get it out.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Hey, my sister, we really appreciate your time. I've learned a lot, and I'm gonna call you privately because I'm gonna reach out to you privately anyway. Let's leave it there. Um, um, Normally we ask questions from our last guest. Okay, I've had to adapt the question today, obviously, because I spoke to you before before we came alive. Okay, so I've readapted the question. The question I'm asking you is, how do we protect Africa from the infiltration of the imperialists on that continent?
What was the original question? Let's work together on that. What was the original question? And then let's go to
the original question was, how do we protect protect and expose the work of the Side Alliance?
What is it?
We're talking about Ibrahim Traore. Is the leader of the Burkina Faso. Basically, there's an alliance between Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, where they're basically leading the way in terms of the freedom of Africa.
The imperialists. They're making moves.
Stand against the imperialists at the moment. So those three countries stand out among the rest. The rest of Africa are still under neo-colonialism, but these three are basically leading the way in terms of exposing the imperialists and basically doing the work. Yeah. So if the question was, how do we help protect, expose that kind of work? How do we glorify it?
The issue for us, and I'm going to say this, excuse me, the issue for us is realizing that we have no power except we become power filled. We have no power to change anything outside of ourselves if we have no power to realign ourselves and reclaim the divinity and the sanctity and the power of who we are as children of God. We have no power if we do not have faith in God, if we do not trust God. You understand? So it all comes back to our restoration and the reinvestment, the cultivation of the wealth of who we are as Africans throughout the diaspora, because our wealth has been robbed. It is the knowledge of truth. It is the knowledge of self. It is knowing how to perpetuate and to free ourselves from having been participatory with our own demise. We cannot really have any power without a wholehearted intention and desire for our restoration, realignment, redemption, reconciliation, harmonization with the will of existence, the laws of existence, the light of existence, the love in being and calling forward. So you understand, I've been putting things out. We got to learn how, how you throw a pebble in a pond and you got the ripple effect. Mm-hmm. So that's what it means, the praying without ceasing. You're consistently infusing upon the pond of this cosmic ocean that we're in with our faith and our invocation. We, as African peoples, all over the world, hereby claim and reclaim our inherent divinity, intelligence, and responsibility to be completely cleared, cleansed, purified, renewed, rebirthed, regenerated, rejuvenated, revitalized, revivified, so that we are filled to overflowing with the love of God, the light of God, the truth of God, the peace of God, the poise of God, the power of God, the intelligence of God, the wisdom of God, so that we are the emergence of the kingdoms and queendoms of God, knowing that that is the end game here, so that we are able to invoke and call forth the assistance of our exalted realms. We are able to speak a thing and have it be done. See, a lot of times we don't really understand, but the whole point is that we don't understand the collective power that we would have if all of our cells have been cleared and cleansed and whatnot. So it doesn't even matter where we are. We could just focus at noon, whatever 1, 2 o'clock on the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna quickly throw one more from what you just said, just to bring clarity. The God you speak of, is it the God of the West, the God of the Arabs, as we've always known? Please, because I get what you're saying, but you know our people, they
I
have been
know.
void
We,
of understanding.
yeah, we have been divided by God worship. That's the first level of divisiveness that started. So that if you pray to Allah, then you go to Allah's heaven. You pray to Jah, you go to Jah's heaven. You go to Yah's heaven. You go to Yahweh's heaven. You go to Jehovah's heaven. You understand? But we're out of that day. We're in the day of
The Jehovah's is the funniest because apparently he only takes 150 something, yet they are proselytizing. So that's the funniest one.
so
That
we
is
could put
funny.
all of the gods, goddesses, saints, saviors, gurus, avatars. You could put all of them together, and you will not have the fullness of that which is the supreme intelligence that is foundational for beating our hearts and breathing us. So when I'm referring to as God, I use the terminology because we're used to that. You understand? But I am speaking to the intelligence of existence that we are immersed in, like fish in ocean. We are immersed in nothing but absolute and supreme cosmic consciousness. We are in flotation on a biospheric intergalactic spaceship called Earth. We are living in a freaking rainbow as these living, loving, intelligent, potent, immortal points of the presence of this absolute and supreme intelligence that is beginningless, endless, infinite, and eternal. We are its individuation. We are the personification. You have all of that, and it has provided ways for our maintenance, our sustenance, and we don't have to have anything that man has made in terms of what his food is, and we will be just fine. But we have to be cleansed.
I thank you, my sister. It's
Thank you very much. Okay, finally, my sister, please, we need a question from you to our next guest, please. It's a tradition on our podcast where we take a question from you for our next guest, please. Not you don't know who they are, so yeah, that's the beauty of it.
So do I what?
We need a question from you for our next
Oh,
guest.
so
do
you
I?
don't know who they are. It's
It-
just where is your heart?
it-
Where's your spirit leading you as to what needs to be
yeah,
answered?
Oh, well, I'll tell you. I would ask, are you willing to be completely cleared, cleansed, purified, renewed, rebirthed, regenerated, rejuvenated, revitalized, and revivified to walk the face of this earth as some of the most dynamic spirits on the planet on behalf of our liberation, so that you are leadership in light in our day and time?
Perfect. And you know what, Oladile? We should send our next guest this broadcast so that they have the context.
yeah. I think the next guest actually fits perfectly into this one. Actually, it actually works. So,
Yep.
okay, my sister, I've been immersed with a lot of wisdom and knowledge today. We really appreciate your time. We thank you very
Thank you very
much.
much. Let
Uh,
me let me just kind of end it away, okay? If it's all right.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, absolute and supreme intelligence, you are that which is beating our hearts and breathing us. And thank you for all who are hearing, all who are present, all who are here. We pray that we're inspired and motivated to do what we didn't know we needed to do, and that the doing is not so much of a problem, because standing in the light of the truth of the divinity of our being is what we need and what is necessary for our liberation, for our resurrection, for our being able to truly represent our lineages in the establishment of thy eternal order and thy eternal government. Thank you for the lineages through whom we've come. We invoke and call forth their power as our power, their gifts, talents, skills, and abilities as ours. We thank you that we are wise enough to encourage others to realize the gift that we each are, that we are not a detriment to ourselves. We give thanks for our children. We give thanks for grace and protection over our lives. We give thanks that our spirits are on fire to rise ever higher on behalf of our global resurrection, that it is our time and we each have to play our part, and our part can only be given in our wholeness, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, psychically, physically, and to know that there is no finance greater than our own life currency. Thank you that we're wise enough to cherish and treasure this gift that is life, and that we are being called and we're responding appropriately, correctly, and directly. We're so grateful for our now moment. I thank you. Ashe, amen. My
I share.
information, may I give my,
Yeah, my sister,
yes?
finally, can you just give the people the handles where they can reach you,
Um,
please?
yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Everything, you
please.
can Google Adama, Adama Speaks, YouTube, The Real Adama Speaks. The life support number and WhatsApp is 678-760-9299. I am on radio at wrfg.org every Thursday night, Eastern Standard Time, midnight to 3 a.m. And all those archives are available Friday morning at wrfg.org. And so, otherwise, Instagram, The Real Adama Speaks, Spotify, Adama Speaks, any podcast is Adama Speaks, and bbsradio.com/Adama Speaks.
On that note, thank you for our community. You've been a blessing to us. And for those who are participating in this, we really thank you. We thank you for being part of our community. And like we say, it's about decolonizing our minds and awakening our consciousness. We have work to do, guys. I hope you've heard from our sister today. Let's do the work. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time.